Friends, today we are going to listen to the article written by Dr. R.P. Parnerkar on the subject on the golden threshold of Purnava. Yes, the subject is the golden threshold of Purnava. Before that, I would like to request you, if you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe and share if you like it. Thank you. So let us hear on the subject on the golden threshold of Purnava. There is an earnest desire for a permanent contentment and happiness on one hand, and on the other hand, we find a constant effort for the ever deluding, translatory, and dynamic sensuous pleasure. We experience the controversy in our everyday life. The latter is inconsistent with the former. We do not find this inconsistency in nature elsewhere, and it's because of this reason that we can build positive science like physics, chemistry, etc. on natural phenomena. So it is worth considering why man is inconsistent in his being, though he is a part of nature. To define pleasure, we may say that pleasure is the fulfillment of desire, and pain means ruthlessness of desire. Man, as a matter of fact, experiences both the things together, the percentage of latter being more. In the words of O. Henry, life is full of tears, sobs, sniffles, with sniffles predominating. Does it not seem illogical then that man living in this world of troubles aspires for happiness, born for pleasure, dies in pain? Suppose he doesn't take birth for happiness. Why should there be a perpetual desire for happiness in his heart? If life means desire for happiness and acquisition of sorrows, what can there be a purpose of God, of nature, or in making such a mess of man's life? Is that a punishment for any sin? If it is, what should one do to acquit oneself? If it is our ignorance, how to get rid of it? Is one supposed to know or do something or purge unhappiness out of life? The Purva Mimamsakar tell know how to get enhancement in life by telling us Athato Dharma Jitnyasa, while the Uttar Mimamsakar tell us what to know for getting deliverance by telling us Athato Brahma Jitnyasa, wherein lies the truth between the two. Existence is relative to motion, so also is bondage relative to deliverance. What is the reason of the existence of bondage is the question which eventually comes. Therefore, it's true that if we get into a rest of casual connections, philosophy has to reach very first cause of the universe. From the above discourse, readers are apt to understand why Lord Krishna had to tell confounded Arjuna the deliberations on Brahma and Maya, Dharma Sammoda Cheta, and mortal and immortal. A radical thinker has to reach that depth to determine the ultimate goal of life. Superficial thinkers are content with popular patriotism, humanism, philanthropy, righteousness, defending faith, sacrifice, equality, and such principles while determining the ultimate goal of life. If there be any natural need of following the rule or rulers intellectually, why did God give a will and intellect? If one is duty bound to serve others, why should there be the problem of bread and butter to impede one's progress every day? Everywhere we see new or old pairs of scissors with a worldly life and spiritual life, self and society, individual and nation. And these pair of scissors have so far torn humanity and human life into fragments, as history has witnessed. The desire for paradise, which dominated the Dikshitas, the sacrificed priests, that's called Dikshits, turned the world into a slaughterhouse. The doctrine of nothing propounded by Buddha purged man's interest in and zeal for worldly life and human life became charmless and almost dead end. Sri Shankaracharya did rejuvenate interest in life by his philosophy aiming at deliverance. But from the same time, the doctrine of man's self-deception, that's Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya, began. Kevaladvaiti Gaudupadacharya, who believed Ajatavad, the world they were never in, brought about an intellectual panic by battle acts of his logic. We Vaishnavas blow their trumpets of Haribhakti as the Pancham Purusharth, the fifth duty of man, but dug a grave for elder for duties, Purvas Chaturvarga Purushartha, the sons of the Veda Mata, that is Mother Vedas, interpreted her soul in their different ways and exhibited their intelligence abroad. The branches of the thought which our ancestors gave us show clearly that the Hems man philosophy has been ashore and nearer at sea. To know this history of the great span of time right from Buddha up to Mahatma Gandhi should be peeped into. Selfless motive coming or at best spiritual interest can also make all possible thinking go through one route, and this very thing has proved itself detrimental to human life, which is the reflection of human mind. This history of the world stands witness as the above mentioned fact with pale face. Earth to clouds and clouds to earth is the perpetual transformation. A transformation that is transformation of water, which gives old world new life, new energy, new flowers, and new fruits. Similarly, through life to philosophy and philosophy to life is the perpetual flow that shall bring forth the old but genuine gems of true knowledge with a new luster. Instead of impeding this flow, its everlasting flow can do good to the humanity. The ardor for life gives birth to philosophy, and the impressions of philosophy stimulate the life. The two reciprocally complementing principles are alone the benefactors of mankind. The above stated cycle of Indian philosophy was almost stopped from the 15th century after Shuddhadvait, refined monism of Sri Vallabha's philosophy lost its flow and she got the form of the stagnant water and philosophy lost its life and charm. Only one thing happened, and that's philosophy being a flank of the field of religion. People could not possibly forget. People are studied only through the religious mindedness. Further, philosophy and worldly life lost their old relationship. The nothing that spiritual life and worldly life are poles apart got a root in the minds of people, and philosophy and philosophers became inactive. In the meantime, all over India, medieval saints and sages hoisted their banners of bhakti, that's devotion, and sang their notes to her. They tried to pour per mouth a quest into God and devotion into the crucible of worldly life. It did show some good influences on the social conditions then, but none of them, saints and sages, had an independent approach to philosophy through their writings. The choir, that's blend of worship of idol, that is called Saguna Bhakti, and quest in that is a question to infinite, that is Nirguna Jnana, has pervaded through all prominent literature like Jnaneshwari, Ekanathi Bhagavat, Srimad Dasgo, Tulsi Ramayana, etc. Almost all saints. Through all saints' literature, we find Advaita Vedanta of Sri Shankaracharya, poured and diluted. The medieval philosophers seem to have been endowed by the Almighty to rule over the thought of the wise through ages. Leave aside the venerable dubbed saints and sages, even English knowing giant scholars like Rajaram Mohan Roy, Tilak, and Vivekananda were almost hypnotized by Sri Shankaracharya's philosophy. These scholars harped the same old philosophical notes, and the achievement of devotion went into a deep trance. Upon the waxing moon of bhakti, that's devotion, glow worms of knowledge began to twinkle everywhere. Now, old things will not suffice in modern age, realized by all modern scholars, but nobody could scientifically contemplate on what new is needed. The outstanding talent of Tilak was almost convinced that in active old philosophy, denunciation will do no good, and therefore he exerted the best of his ability, patience, industry, and knowledge in writing in the famous book of Karma Yoga Shastra. Tilak, from point of view of politics, realized the inertia in the society, and therefore he went against Shankaracharya as far as the method was concerned. Otherwise, like all other philosophers, it was his honest conviction that Advaita philosophy, Shankara's philosophy, is the Vedic philosophy, and this is manifest in his Gita Rasya, the criticism of Gita. He was full of veneration for Sri Shankaracharya and has explicitly said in his book that there has been never a greater philosopher in the world than Shankaracharya. In the introduction of Gita Rasya, Tilak has mitigated the importance of all old philosophers. Not only that, but in the 9th chapter of Gita Rasya, he said that all other shastras, philosophical pursuits, are like a jackals before the lion of Vedanta. Says, ताद्वर्तन्ति शास्त्राणि जम्बुका पिपिके यथा न गर्जति महाशक्ति यावद् वेदांत केसरी is a quotation of old writer which he has plainly and honestly to enforce Saint Jnaneshwara formed a tradition by saying Bhashyakarate Vatapusati, that is, the doctrine of Sri Shankaraj and method of individual philosophy or the philosopher seems to have been followed by Tilak also. The only difference between the saints and Lokmanya is that the saints told Nama or Bhakti to followers and Lokmanya Tilak Niskama Karva, service without attachment to fruits. The very reason which made the Sanskrit Pandits trifle with the saint literature also doomed Rahasya to be qualified as unscientific. There is a sort of homogeneity in the doctrine and the method. They can never be heterogeneous. The doctrine once accepted can never be manipulated by a heterogeneous method. You can never put sugar in the eye only because it is sweet to taste. As we see, after Vallabhacharya, that is 1500 AD, Indian philosophy didn't make any progress. All efforts made during the last 500 years in this sphere were almost superficial. This span of approximately 500 years may well be called Dark Age of Indian philosophy without any reservation, because all controversies rose from Vallabhacharya to Mahatma Gandhi were all over the method only. Before all this, Vaishnavacharyas tried to refute the Shankara's doctrine, but time did not favor their preaching in spite of their being scientific. Probably they lacked the divine bliss. Might be their penetration was too small before that of Shankaracharya's. No matter how dwarfish they seemed, although these Vaishnavacharyas enriched the scientific thought, philosophy is indebted to them. The magnificent edifice of Indian philosophy had got 5 stately minarets. They are Vedic, second Darshanik, that is purely metaphysical and logical, third is Buddhism, fourth is Shankara's philosophy, fifth Vaishnava's philosophy. From the religion point of view, Indian philosophy is divided into 3 divisions, that is Hinduism, Buddhism and Jainism. From the point of view of metaphysical system, Indian philosophy is classified into 4 classes, that is Nastikvad, not exactly atheism, but non-belief in the truth. Second is Adneyavad, that is agnosticism. Third is Samshayavad, that is skepticism. And fourth is Astikvad, that is belief in the truth. There are 2 different connotations of Astikvad and Nastikvad each. A Nastik is he who doesn't believe authority of Vedas or who doesn't believe in the absolute truth. Astik is one who believes in authority of Vedas or who believes in absolute truth. There are 2 wrong ideas residing in the minds of people through sheer ignorance. These 2 deluding ideas have brought about 2 grave defects in Indian community. The implicit faith which the Hindus have in authority of Vedas is almost matchless. But they wrongly took Shankaracharya's philosophy for the Vedic philosophy. This false idea got its root so deep in the minds of the people that at least Hindus left to have an all round perspection for determining their ultimate goal of life. Their blind belief in Shankaracharya's philosophy almost turned their backs upon the critical study of Vedas. They began to look at Vedas through the spectacles of Mayavad of Shankaracharya. This brought about the clearest possible shape of philosophical thought of the people. It was Vedic by faith, but was destitute of Vedic principle. The second important defeat, which focuses, is that Mayavadi philosophy of Sri Shankaracharya has to contrive different intellectual innovations, complementary and supporting it for the defense of the doctrine. One of them is prarabdhava, that is fatalism, and it passed badly, bare, shadowed, everywhere, clouded in the lives of the Indian masses. The Advaita files fettered the protoplasm, that is being, in the chains of fatalism and acquisitions of the last birth of this life-forming destiny, that is prarabdha and sanchita, and kriyamana, activity in life with attachment. People accepted this intellectual acrobatics as how their guide of life credulously, and it became ions in their feet. Then became uninterested in life because of his reliance on prarabdha. His true manliness disappeared and India was pervaded by an inertia. If the rishis, best known as the realizers of mantras, would have had the firm conviction that only fate leads the being, why would they have exerted all their lives in penance and in praying their deities for their well-being, which looks sheer absurdity otherwise with stoic braveries? Read by Veda. It will easily occur to you that fatalism is not a Vedic doctrine. Therefore, it's obvious that Shankara's philosophy can't be an all-out Hindu philosophy. The followers of Shankaracharya may adore fatalism. For others, the divine bliss is always there to fondle them with anything they want. Therefore, why should one be disappointed by one's past deeds? One gets terrified by the illusion of the so-called fate. Yeah. Friends, in the next part of this article, we'll see the greatness of Shankara's philosophy. Thank you. Please subscribe the channel and share it if you like. Thank you.